Welcome to Cheater Confessions. Let's get started with today's story. It was Friday evening just after 7 when Carly came downstairs. I was in the kitchen finishing dinner when I heard her heels on the tile. I looked up and stopped. She was wearing a black dress I had never seen before. It was fitted, expensive, and completely out of place for the casual work dinner she had mentioned that morning. I dried my hands and looked at her. "Where are you going?" She picked up her purse from the counter. "I told you. The Harbor Club." "For work?" "Yes." "Who's going?" She checked her phone before answering. "People from the firm, a few clients. Nothing unusual." I nodded slowly. For the last 3 months, there had been a lot of nothing unusual. Late meetings, drinks after work, private dinners, a phone she kept face down whenever I entered the room. Every time I asked, Carly had an explanation ready. Tonight, I wasn't interested in another one. "You bought that dress for this?" She looked down at herself. "What's wrong with it?" "Nothing." "Then why are you looking at me like that?" "Because you told me this was a work dinner. That dress doesn't look like something you wear to a work dinner." She laughed. "You're seriously starting this again? I'm asking you a question, and I'm answering it." "No, you're avoiding it." Her expression hardened. "Ronald, I'm going out. I'm not asking permission." "I know." "Then what's the problem?" I looked directly at her. "The problem is that I don't recognize my wife anymore." She grabbed her earrings from the counter. "You've been suspicious of me for months. Maybe that's your problem." "Maybe." She stopped. I continued. "But I'm not going to argue with you tonight." "Good." She walked toward the door. I let her take 3 steps before I spoke. "If you go out in that dress, our marriage is over." She turned around. For a few seconds, neither of us said anything. Then she gave a short laugh. "You can't be serious?" "I am." "So you're threatening me because of a dress?" "No, I'm telling you what I'm going to do if you walk out that door." Her face changed. "You're giving me an ultimatum?" "No, you're free to go." She stared at me. "And if I do?" "I'll file for divorce." Carly shook her head. "You've lost your mind." "Maybe?" She waited, clearly expecting me to take it back. I didn't. Finally, she opened the door. "Don't wait up." "I won't." She stepped outside and shut the door behind her. I stood there for a moment. Then I went upstairs, opened my desk drawer, and took out the folder containing our financial documents. If Carly wanted to make her choice, I was going to make mine. I spent the next hour copying account information, checking our mortgage balance, and making a list of everything that needed to be separated. At 11:48, my phone rang. It was Graham Pierce. I recognized the name. We had met a couple of times through work, and I had his number saved from a company event he'd helped with several months earlier. I answered. "Ronald?" "Yeah, it's Graham. I'm the security supervisor at the Harbor Club tonight." That got my attention. "Why are you calling me?" He hesitated. "I saw your wife come in about an hour ago." "Carly?" "Yes." "She wasn't alone." I sat up. "Who was with her?" "A man named Wesley Grant." I knew the name. Wesley was a senior consultant at Carly's firm. She had mentioned him several times over the past year. Whenever his name came up, it was always because of some major client or business trip. "What makes you think I should care?" I asked. Graham paused. "Because they didn't go into the work dinner." My voice hardened. "Then where did they go?" "They went through a private entrance toward the marina." I looked at the clock. 12:03. "Did you see them leave?" "Not yet. I've seen Wesley here before. He brings different women. Tonight, he was with your wife." That was enough. I thanked him and ended the call. I didn't drive to the Harbor Club. I wasn't going to show up there and create a scene. If Carly had made her choice, I wasn't going to chase her around town demanding an explanation. Instead, I opened my laptop. I checked our joint credit card account. There it was, Harbor Club, private dining, then another charge, Marina Suite, room service. I stared at the screen. A work dinner didn't require a suite. I took screenshots and saved them. Then I called the attorney whose number I had kept for the last hour. Her name was Victoria Shaw. She answered on the 4th ring. "Victoria speaking. This is Ronald Bennett. I need to discuss a divorce." There was a short silence. "Are you certain?" "I am." She asked me a few basic questions about our finances, property, and marriage. I answered everything directly. Then she said, "Do not confront your wife until we speak tomorrow. Keep records. Don't move shared money without legal advice. And don't do anything you'll regret in the morning." "I won't." I ended the call. At 1:17, Carly finally came home. I heard her key turn in the lock. She stepped inside quietly. Her heels were in one hand. She froze when she saw me sitting at the dining table. "Ronald?" I looked at her dress. It was still perfect, but her hair was different, messier, and there was a faint mark of red lipstick near the corner of her mouth. "How was the work dinner?" I asked. She swallowed. "Fine. Did you have a good time with Wesley?" Her face went completely still. That was all the confirmation I needed. She slowly put her shoes down. "Who told you that?" I stood. "That's the first question you should be asking?" She didn't answer. I pointed toward the stairs. "Go upstairs. Ronald, please, go upstairs. We're talking in the morning." She stared at me. For the first time that night, she looked afraid, and I knew the marriage had already changed forever. Carly stayed where she was. "Ronald, I can explain." "I'm sure you can. It wasn't what you think." I almost laughed. "Then tell me what I think." She looked away. "You think I went there with Wesley?" "You did. We had to discuss a client." "At 1 in the morning?" "It was complicated." "And the Marina suite?" Her eyes moved back to mine. "What suite?" I walked to the dining table and turned my laptop toward her. The credit card statement was open on the screen. She stared at it. "That doesn't mean anything." "It means you paid for a room." "I didn't book it." "Who did?" She said nothing. I waited. Finally, she whispered, "Wesley." "So you were with him?" "Yes." The answer came quickly this time. But I wasn't finished. "Did you lie to me this morning when you said you were going to a work dinner?" I didn't know what was going to happen. "That wasn't my question." She folded her arms. "Yes, I lied." I nodded. "And you wore that dress knowing exactly who you were meeting." Her face tightened. "I wanted to feel attractive. You could have done that without lying to your husband. You haven't made me feel attractive in a long time." I stepped closer. "Don't put that on me." She looked angry now. "You've been distant." "I've been working. There's a difference. You stopped noticing me." "And Wesley did?" She didn't answer. That silence told me more than anything else could have. I picked up my phone. "Did you sleep with him?" Carly's face went pale. "Ronald, yes or no?" She sat down. "I don't know how to answer that." "You answer it with the truth." She covered her face for a moment. Then she looked up. "Yes." The room went quiet. I had expected anger. Instead, I felt something colder. "You slept with him tonight?" She nodded. "One time?" She hesitated. "I don't know." I stared at her. "What does that mean?" "We've been talking for a while." "How long?" She looked toward the window. "A few months." That was worse. This wasn't one reckless decision made after too many drinks. She had been building something behind my back while coming home and pretending everything was normal. I picked up the folder I had prepared earlier. Carly noticed it. "What is that?" "Everything I need to start separating our lives." Her expression changed. "You actually meant what you said." "I told you exactly what would happen." "Ronald, please. We can fix this." "No." "You haven't even thought about it." "I thought about it before you came home." She stood and grabbed my arm. "Please don't do this tonight." I pulled my arm free. "You made tonight your choice." She started crying. "I made a terrible mistake." "No," I said. "The mistake was thinking I'd never find out." I walked toward the stairs. Behind me, she whispered, "I love you." I stopped. Then I turned around. "If you loved me enough, you wouldn't have needed to hide another man from me." I went upstairs and closed the bedroom door. Carly slept on the couch that night. I didn't sleep beside her, and by morning I had already decided what I was going to do next. The next morning, I left the house before Carly woke up. I didn't leave to punish her. I had a meeting with Victoria Shaw, and I wanted everything handled properly. I told her everything: the dress, the ultimatum, the phone call from Graham, the credit card charges, and Carly's admission that she had slept with Wesley. Victoria listened without interrupting. When I finished, she closed her notebook. "Do not threaten him. Don't contact him. Don't post anything. Let me handle the legal side." I wasn't planning to. "Good. Your strongest position is staying calm." "What happens next?" "We prepare the separation. Then we deal with the house, accounts, and anything else you own together." I signed the documents she put in front of me. By the time I left her office, the divorce process had officially begun. I wasn't going back. 2 days later, I moved into a small apartment near the waterfront. Carly stayed at the house. She called almost every night. Sometimes she apologized. Sometimes she asked me to come home. I didn't argue with her. I told her the same thing every time. The decision has been made. During that first week, I separated my personal accounts, changed my direct deposits, and gave Victoria everything she needed for the divorce. 3 weeks passed. Then, one afternoon, my phone rang. It was Carly. I answered. I need to tell you something. What? I went to a doctor this morning. I stopped walking. Why? She took a breath. I tested positive for an STD. I said nothing. She started crying. Ronald, please say something. Did the doctor tell you when you got it? No. They said they couldn't determine exactly when I contracted it. Did you tell them about Wesley? Yes. And? She told me I need to inform anyone I've slept with recently. I looked across the street at the marina. I'm getting tested. You should. There was silence. Then Carly said, I don't know where it came from. I tightened my grip on the phone. You slept with Wesley. I know. And you were sleeping with him before that. She hesitated. Carly. Yes. The word came out quietly. How many times? I don't know. You knew enough to hide it from me. She started crying again. I was stupid. You weren't stupid. You made decisions. She didn't answer. And now I have to deal with the possibility that your decisions affected my health. I never wanted this. You didn't want the consequences. That's different. She went quiet. Then she said something that changed everything. Wesley told me he was clean. I stared at the pavement. You believed him? Yes. And you didn't ask for proof? No, I shook my head. That was your choice, but I'm not carrying the consequences for you. I'll pay for anything you need. I'll do whatever you want. This isn't about money. Then what do you want? I want the divorce. She began crying harder. Ronald, please. You made your decision. I can fix this. No, you can deal with it. I ended the call. That evening I called Victoria and told her what Carly had revealed. She was silent for a moment. Document everything. I will. The next morning I went to the clinic and explained the situation. The doctor ordered the necessary tests and told me some results would take time. I gave the samples and left. For the first time since she walked out in that black dress, I understood something clearly. The betrayal wasn't only emotional anymore, it had consequences that could have followed me long after the marriage ended. 3 days later, Victoria called me. Ronald, I just received some information about Wesley. I sat forward. What kind of information? Wesley's wife has contacted your wife's employer. I sat forward. Why? She discovered he was involved with several women from the company. Several? Yes. Victoria explained that Wesley had been having relationships with women he met through work. Carly wasn't the only one. Then she told me something else. His wife says he knew he had been exposed to an infection before the night with Carly. I went completely still. He knew? That's what she's claiming. Can she prove it? She has medical records and messages. I stared at the wall. Carly had trusted a man who apparently knew he might have an infection and never warned her. But I wasn't going to let that become an excuse for Carly. She had still chosen him. That evening, Carly came to my apartment. She stood outside my door with red eyes. Please let me explain. You have 5 minutes. She stepped inside. Wesley lied to me. I know. Her expression changed. How? His wife contacted your company. Carly covered her mouth. He knew, she whispered. Apparently, she sat down. He told me he had been tested. And you believed him. Yes, I looked at her. You still had a husband at home. She started crying. I know. You lied to me for months. She lowered her eyes. I was afraid you'd find out. You chose him. She wiped her face. I thought he cared about me. He cared enough to lie to you. That hurt her. But I wasn't going to soften it. She looked at me. Do you hate me? No. Then why can't you give me another chance? Because I don't want the marriage you gave me. She lowered her head. I'll quit my job. That won't change anything. I'll block him. You should have done that before. I'll go to therapy. You should. She looked up. Then what do you want from me? Nothing. That answer seemed to hurt more than anger would have. I stood and opened the door. She remained seated for a moment. Then she walked past me. At the doorway, she turned. I really thought you'd fight for us. I did. When? The night I told you not to go. She stared at me. You thought that was fighting? No, I said. That was my last warning. Then I closed the door. The next morning, Victoria called. The divorce settlement is ready. This time, there was nothing left to discuss. Victoria sent me the settlement papers that afternoon. The house would be sold, our savings would be divided equally. The cars would be separated. Neither of us would receive alimony. There was nothing complicated about it. Around the same time, my doctor called with the rest of my test results. They were all negative. I let out a breath I hadn't realized I'd been holding. At least Carly's decision hadn't left me with something I'd have to carry for the rest of my life. I didn't call her. There was nothing I needed to say. Carly had initially asked Victoria for more time, hoping I would change my mind. I didn't. A week later, we met at Victoria's office. Carly looked exhausted. She sat across from me and kept her hands folded on the table. "I know you're serious now," she said. "I've been serious since that night. I thought you were angry. I was. And now? Now I'm finished." She looked down at the papers. "You really don't want to try again?" "No. Not even after everything with Wesley?" I shook my head. "Especially after everything with Wesley." She swallowed. "He used me. He lied to you." "I know. And you still chose him." Her eyes filled with tears. "I made a terrible decision." "Yes." She looked up. "You're not going to forgive me." "I already did." She seemed confused. "How can you forgive me and still divorce me?" "Because forgiveness isn't the same as trust." She looked at the settlement again. "I'll sign it." Victoria watched her carefully. "Take your time. You don't have to sign anything you don't understand." Carly nodded. She read every page. Then she signed. When she finished, she pushed the papers toward Victoria. "Is that it?" "Almost," Victoria said. Carly looked at me. "Do you remember what you said that night?" "I remember every word. You told me if I left in that dress, our marriage was over." "Yes." "I thought you were trying to control me." "I wasn't." "Then what were you doing?" I leaned back. "I was telling you what I would do." She stared at me. "I didn't believe you." "I know. I thought you'd be waiting when I came home." "I was." She looked surprised. "You were?" "For a while." She lowered her eyes. "Why?" "Because I wanted to see whether you'd tell me the truth." She didn't answer. I continued. "You came home at 1 in the morning. You lied again. Then you admitted you slept with him. I was scared. You should have been honest." "I know." Victoria finished reviewing the documents. "There is one final signature." Carly signed it. Then she put the pen down. "Ronald, I really am sorry." I believed her. That was the strange part. I believed she regretted it. But regret couldn't undo the choices she had made. We left the office separately. Outside, Carly stopped beside her car. "Can I ask you one thing?" I turned. "Did you ever love me?" I looked at her for a moment. "Yes." Her eyes watered. "And now?" "I don't hate you, Carly." She waited. "But I don't want you back." She nodded slowly. Then she got into her car. I watched her drive away. For the first time, I wasn't thinking about Wesley. I wasn't thinking about the dress. I wasn't thinking about what Carly had done. I was thinking about what came next. And for once, that future belonged entirely to me. The divorce became official a few months later. There was no courtroom fight and no dramatic argument. We signed the final documents, the clerk stamped them, and just like that, 6 years of marriage became a legal record. After that, life became quieter. I changed my routine. I went to the gym before work. I cooked instead of ordering food. I stopped checking my phone every few minutes. The silence didn't bother me anymore. Then, about a month after the divorce, Carly called. I almost didn't answer. I did. "Ronald?" "Yes." "Can we meet?" "Why?" "I want to apologize properly." "You already apologized." "I know, but I need to say something in person." I agreed to meet her at a quiet restaurant near the harbor. When I arrived, she was already sitting at a corner table. She looked different. Not broken. Just tired. "I heard your medical results were clear," she said. "They were." She closed her eyes for a second. "I'm glad." "So am I." She looked down. "I've been thinking about that night." "So have I." "I thought you were trying to control me." "I wasn't." "I understand that now." I said nothing. She continued. "You gave me a choice. I just didn't believe there would be consequences." "That was the point." She nodded. "I thought you'd get angry. We'd fight. And eventually you'd forgive me." "I did forgive you." "But you still left." "Because forgiveness didn't change what happened." She looked toward the window. "I lost everything." "No," I said. "You lost a marriage. You still have a life." She looked at me. "You really don't hate me?" "No." "Why?" Because I'm not spending the rest of my life carrying anger for someone who isn't part of it anymore. She smiled faintly. That sounds like you. I finished my coffee. I should go. She nodded. Before I stood, she said, Ronald? I looked at her. If I had stayed home that night, do you think we'd still be married? I thought about it for a moment. Yes. She looked down. Then she whispered, I wish I had. I know. I stood. She didn't try to stop me. Outside, I walked toward the harbor. The same marina where Carly had gone that night was glowing across the water. I remembered standing in our house, looking at that black dress, telling her exactly what would happen if she walked out. She had thought I was bluffing. She had been wrong. But the important thing wasn't that I had kept my word. It was that I had finally learned to keep a promise to myself. I didn't lose my marriage that night. Carly chose to leave it. I simply had the strength to accept her choice. And when I walked away from the harbor, I didn't look back. Thank you for watching.